Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the Sales and Marketing Friday Talks. Every second Friday, we share insight, best practices, and anecdotes from technology companies. So, technology sector is one of rapidly growing nowadays for obvious reason, and it also means more competition for clients, and the same actually means more competition for employees. And today, we will try to figure out who is more important for success of the company, clients or employees. Our special guest today is Wim Dierickx, unit leader at 3 Finance, a consultancy company with over 500 consultants operating in Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg. So welcome, Wim.
Good to be here with you.
Thank you for joining. So, Wim, 3 Finance approach is putting employees before customers and facilitate growth as a top priorities. Could you please explain why do you see it so important and why do you prioritize employees over customers?
Well, first, thanks for having me on this interesting Friday morning show. Let's call it that way. First, a small introduction, background of myself. I think that's always interesting. I am in the IT business already a very long time. I studied computer engineering before the PC even existed, so imagine. Had my own company, focusing on people already at that time because we were responsible in Belgium for training people using personal computers in companies, which they did not before. So the people aspect was already very important to me back then. And then I joined this little company like you, Andres. We both worked in a very little company with the name Microsoft. I worked there for 13 years in an international context, in a marketing context. I am an IT person myself. I'm very technical. I have a technical background. I just landed in marketing by accident. And then I learned another different way of working with people. Microsoft is a big company, completely different approach on how they manage talent, and on managing talent I will come back. I think that's an important aspect. And now the last couple of years, indeed, I'm in relation with 3 Finance, which is a consulting company. And I did that because they had a very interesting approach. And the founder of that company was already for a very long time in the staffing business, which is a pure people business. You sell people basically, but thought that at some point of time that a new approach was needed. If you look at how companies manage their talents, it's always in function of the economics. A company manages talents because there is an economic reason to do that, because there is a business objective to reach. And that's the way they manage talents. And it's kind of a rat race for the company. And especially nowadays, I don't have to tell you, probably in your countries, it's the same. It's very difficult to find qualified IT professionals, for example. So it's a rat race for the company. But it's also a rat race for the people because they jump from one job to another. They try to achieve their goals. Well, no, they try to achieve the goals of the company they work for. And the founder of 3 Finance wanted to do it in a different way, not putting the economics first, but putting the people first. And to get out of that rat race, to give a bit more time to reflect on where you are as a person in a career, and to build upon that, to have, of course, success in the end. It's not because we are this company is just not interested in having profit, in generating profit, but the starting point is a different starting point.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting approach. And how do you see, in terms of the business impact, what actually it means for the company, like company you are working at the moment, following this approach? Because obviously, and Rollins can also share his insights. We all think that without clients, without customers, we cannot exist, right? They are paying us so that we can then afterwards grow and pay our employees and so forth. And putting customers a bit aside, and then prioritizing employees means quite a different mindset, both not only for the owners of the companies, but for everyone who works at this company. So how practically this works? What it means.
Yeah. You raise a very important point, and the whole. Let me add to what I told you a few minutes ago, that the reason why I thought about this thing and why I thought the approach of this consulting company I'm now connected with is so interesting is because many companies, and Andres, it when we were at Microsoft, there's this big meeting every year, and this big guy then comes on stage. You know who I'm talking about, and then he says, people are our most important assets.
Yes.
And every time that's said by a company, I have to say I felt not so good. I don't think that's because at the same time, companies do not have a plan for people who are getting older, or do not have a plan for people that have a talent that is maybe not completely compatible with what the company needs.
Yes.
And I think the word assets is correct. People are then an asset, but that's not absolutely not the right approach. The way it should work is that actually a person is also a little company of one person with a goal, and their goal is probably to have a career that they wish, and it's different for every person. For some, it's growing up to a high level function or job wise. For other, it's maybe having a good work-life balance. For others, it's learning a lot. Could be different things for different people, but they have this objective. And of course, an organization, a company has also an objective. Yes, of course, our customers, we need to serve them. We need to make money. And it's a matter of trying to integrate these two objectives into one approach. And that is what it means, putting people first. It's really not managing your talent from the objective of the economics, but managing the talent from the objective of the person. And see what the person wants, work on that, and then you have a person who is highly motivated, and then you can also, of course, you use the person or assign the person to projects at customers or to develop a product. It depends on the services of your company in a much more motivated way. That's in summary what it should be all about.
Wim, but just trying to understand how exactly this works. I mean, does it work like your company is trying to find the right balance, right job, right fit for what people want, or it really concerns career growth? Because I imagine if in group there are 7 people, probably 3 of them wants to become manager, right? And there can be only one manager in that group. So and consulting companies in particular, they are like, very pyramid shaped. There are only so little number of spaces, a level up, and so on. So what's real approach? Is your company promise really that you will become, let's say, a manager in a year or 2? Or is it more about balancing lifestyle preferences or work style preferences of employees?
Yeah, I think that is exactly a little bit a small mistake we make. We always think people want to grow up. We want to become a manager and a director and a CEO. But actually, that's absolutely not true. And to be honest, not everybody is capable of doing that. That's the classic way of developing talent, is to develop it up to the point that it won't work anymore. So that is career can be completely different things. For example, in IT, it could mean that currently who is a developer, somebody who is developer, wants to grow into a role of a functional analyst, or some others wants to grow into a function of becoming an architect. So growth or evolution in careers is not always up, could also be horizontal. So there's much more than just going up. You're right, in a consulting company, actually there's not a lot of hierarchy. You have a very horizontal organization where you have lots of consultants. But these consultants all want to have a certain career. And for some, that could mean that they want to become a CFO somewhere. For others, it could mean that they want to be expert on a specific domain. So there's different career wishes. And the thing is to be able to manage or to, first of all, to understand what the career objectives are of a person, and then to work out a plan together with that person how to reach that point. And I like to add to that. Well, I don't like to add to that, but I have to add to that. It does also mean at some point that a person leaves the company, that the next destination is somewhere else, and that a person works with you, or we as an organization can work with a person to facilitate that. All too often, what I see in my whole career. You hire a person, you invest in it. You think you're investing it by giving him every year a little bit more salary, and by allowing him or her to follow some training. You know how it works, and then you hope they don't leave, and you pamper them and you try to make them happy, and then after a certain point they're at your desk and they say, sorry, I have to resonate because I signed a different contract somewhere else. And unfortunately, that is happening these days. I don't know in your countries, but in the countries I'm active in, especially in IT, it happens too often. It's like after the pandemic crisis, the ports of heaven are opened and everybody storms out into new roles and functions. It's an amazing thing. But that's we have to learn to live with that, and we have to see that for a given amount of time, we have a nicely balanced agreement between a person and an organization about certain objectives, and these objectives at the person side are probably a career objectives, can be anything. And the objective, of course, of a company is to make sure that during that time we can do something useful with the person. But that is the objective, and the consequence of that is that you have to take that all the way. And if you do a good job, even if they would leave the company, they still stay ambassador of your organization.
Yes.
Again, I'm talking here not only in name of the company. I do not represent the company in this presentation. I represent my own opinion, but my own opinion is based on what I see in the basic ideas of this consulting company, who I think is doing a very good job from that.
Yeah.
But, tell me, how the responsibility is split up? Is it a direct manager who has this discussion with the employee, and then they agree about the career growth plan? Is it HR? How your company make sure that it's successful? Because I mean, if it's responsibility of managers can be different. Some are more people oriented, some are objectives oriented. Some does better job, some does worse. How you balance it? How you make sure that this vision is really implemented?
Yeah, it's not easy, and I can tell you that looking at this company I'm now related to for the business consulting part, they're doing it very well. I'm trying to set it up for the IT part, which is a challenge. But let's talk about how it should be. Is that first of all, it needs to be part of the DNA of a company. You cannot just enforce this plan and then tell everybody that's what we're going to do. It needs to be part of the DNA of the company, so managers very well understand why this is needed. Secondly, an employee has his own responsibility. He and only he or her is responsible for their own career. So they need to, but that's where you can help. They need to write their own career plan, and we have tools and methodologies to do that, to help them, to facilitate them, so they can write their career plan, and then it can be discussed, but not only with managers, because managers are just interested in money, sometimes, mostly, but we could also be peers, people who are already a little bit further developed in a certain direction, in a certain expertise, could be mentors, could be coaches. It's a summary of more than one person with which somebody can have a discussion to develop their own career plan. That's the first step, having a good picture on what this career plan is. Because I always see when I read documentation about how companies are managing their people, I also see the talent is the word that comes back. We are looking for talent. We are going to manage talent. And the same, and I personally think talent is maybe something for football players, who have a born talent to play football. In Belgium, we thought we had talented football players, but unfortunately, they didn't get far. But that's another discussion. But that's talent. Huh? And yes, of course, in IT, we have talented people sometimes. But most people don't have this born talent. They just want to have a good life. They just want to have an understanding of what they do. They want to, of course, improve their knowledge or their skills, or maybe they want to improve their work-life balance. But that's the way we have to look at it. And for some, it's talent. For others, could be steady professionals who have one area of expertise and they do a very good job there. And maybe it's good to make sure that they can do that for a long time, instead of always pushing people up. And that's the career plan that needs to be established. And I think a focus on that is very important as a first step to have a good understanding what a person wants. And then from there on starts thinking, what can we do with it in our company or in our organization, and not the other way around.
Yeah, I think it's a good approach, and I think also this COVID basically triggered a bit of a change in balance, because and that also we see in our own recruitment when we are interviewing candidates. Very often the conversation goes not so much towards perhaps a salary or something, but it goes almost to topics of freedom. How will you help me be who I am? How you will help me work the way I work best, or how your work will help me to meet my perhaps lifestyle goals. And I think that's quite a shift. I mean, back in early 2000s when myself and Andrei started our career, we were like, I mean, freedom was something we were probably happy to give away for a job in prestigious company, and then we were happy to burn away our life, not see family and kids, just do really things which are required by company, right? If necessary, we could wear whatever uniform we are handed. But today, I think that has changed, and I see it with young people, also with more mature people, that basically the conversation we have is about partnership, and work is not so central part of this discussion.
Absolutely, and don't tell me that. I mean, I'm even older. I'm coming from a time where people still looked for jobs for their life.
Yeah.
And I have the impression that organizations did not yet adapt to that new situation.
At least not all of them, yeah.
Yeah, I think an organization still is hiring people as it is forever. Right? It's a contract, and you're going to work here, and we're going to develop you, and it's forever. And then after 3 or 4 years, just as an example, something happens, or the company is not happy, and then you have to leave, or you are too old, you are to this or to that, or the person leaves because he has not an opportunity. So I think we really have to learn to work with more short term. Of course, it cannot be too short. Don't get me wrong, but an appropriate time of working together. That is what we need to. That we should adapt to that situation and then make the best of it. And then, as you say, indeed, if I have conversation with young people who want to work for us, then it always, the salary is of course also something, but it mostly goes about how far do I live from work. Although with COVID, the discussion changed a little bit. What freedom do I have indeed? How can I balance it with my family life, and so forth and so forth. And it's different. And we also meet people who really want still to work 12 hours a day, but different styles. And we have to work with that and not enforce a talent development that we think for our company is best, but play it the other way around, indeed.
Yeah. Yes, and one more observation is actually, maybe you have noticed that upcoming to this Friday Talk episode, I did a bit of a survey on LinkedIn. And actually, I was surprised by the results I got. Actually, only as little as 9% of people participating said that the company should prioritize customers. 40% were in favor of prioritizing employees. And then 51% said it must be balanced approach. But this, I think, also indicates that something really has changed in the way companies actually, because I think companies used to hire people, basically do an acquisition of assets. right?
Yes.
But now it's more and more a conversation about certain partnership, and not unlimited partnership, but perhaps, okay, we are going together, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, and we agree about some goals for each of us, and then we just do it. And after a while, we review, and it's okay if people leave, right?
No, well, okay, it's never always sad, but that's the way we should think, at least, and maybe even thinking like that will maybe also result in people staying longer because the deal is good, because the partnership is good. And I like your word partnership a lot, because lots of companies still think in this old-fashioned way of employer and employee. It's kind of an hierarchical relationship, which it should not be the case at all, and that's a very important aspect of the mindset that you need to understand. But yeah, you're right, absolutely, and it's difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. And to make sure everybody understands, it's not that we leave customers in the cold. First of all, I think customers are, of course, also very important. I think the word balance is wrong. That's a too political correct word. Hate it. I mean, say what you want, don't say balanced. But customers, as a consequence, customers will be more happy as well, because they receive a very motivated team, or they receive a better product because it's built by a more motivated team. Motivation is the driver, and it also results in happier customers. Absolutely. And also, do not misunderstand in another way. It's not like we call every morning our people and say, "Hey, John, how you feel today? Do you think you will be able to work today?" That's not what I mean. I mean, that's because sometimes that's no. We agreed on certain objectives together, but as you said, it's a partnership.
Yeah, and I think it's also everything what we just discussed. It doesn't apply only to the company, right? But it also applies the same to the employee. So the same thinking, the same mindset should come from the employee. And you, Wim, was mentioning earlier that it's also about understanding on the employee side what are your objectives for the career, where you want to be, and only then you can actually have a discussion, make a partnership, and it also means a joint effort. What often, at least I have seen also, that sometimes employees really expect company to take care of them, saying, "Hey, I need to grow, or I need to develop, give me training, give me that, or something else, or give me an opportunity for the next career step." But not always that is also proactively driven from the employee side. And I think that's also, should be,
Employees are responsible for their own career. Don't misunderstand that. And the company is not responsible for your career. The employee is. But the company, or the organization, it's not always a company, is responsible for facilitating that in a proper way. And also giving the employee, and employee is the wrong word, giving the person tools and methods to discover what he or she really wants. Because in many discussions I have with young candidates, is that if I ask them, what is your goal? Where do you want to be in, let's say, 2 years? No, I'm not even talking 5 years, because in the current technology times that's impossible. But just ask, what do you want to be in 2 years? They often don't know. They often have no clue. I want to continue what I'm doing now, or suddenly something else comes out that makes absolutely no sense. So we have a responsibility as an organization to help them discovering and write down the plan they need.
Yeah, but
this is totally okay. I mean, to not have a plan, because especially in the younger age, I remember myself, and that was quite a typical question, like asked, how do you see yourself in 5 years, or how do you see yourself in 10 years? I don't know, because I simply don't know what to do and what to expect actually from there. And only by experience you can see what are the possibilities. And I think at least what worked for me well is this mentorship practice, what you mentioned as well. So when you have somebody who can actually help you understand what are the possibilities out there, and then you can make a decision. So, okay, do I want to be a manager? Because kind of it might look a good idea, because obviously it gives you a power, it gives you some more money, more benefits, whatever else. But it also gives you a lot of other things like responsibilities, longer hours to work or something like that, and so on and so forth, what you cannot recognize by being without experience.
Yeah, and it's that is very important. I think it's more than mentorship. I think if you really want to do a good job, and we're trying to build that now for the IT part, we're not there yet, to be honest. But it's a framework. It's really a formalized framework. So a person can really see on the framework, I am now a developer. I want to maybe become or go more to functional analyst. Or an experienced developer, or whatever. What are the steps I need to do that? And that's the help we need to be able to offer people, so we can really explain to them, okay, on the knowledge side, that's what you need to have. On the skill side, that's what you need to have. So really helping them to not only define what they want, but also how to reach that. And for some, it's something far away. For some, it's just doing what they do and be an expert in that, and that's absolutely fine. It's not always not everybody is a super talent. I think companies really have to understand that, because there is a shortage of IT people on the market. But I also think that companies mostly didn't understand that and are still looking for the sheep with 7 legs who can do everything, which is absolutely not foundable. So I think but that's another discussion.
Yeah, absolutely true. I also just wanted to ask you, Wim, how practically this facilitation happens. You mentioned that you have some tools, you have some framework methodologies. Could you give a more specific example, if it's possible, or maybe an advice to our listeners or our audience on live session? So what are these practical steps? How can you start implementing this approach in your company?
Well, ideally, and again, for the consulting part of this company that I'm related to, it's fully operational. For the IT part, we're trying to develop it as well. And again, I'm talking from my own here. But I think you need absolutely 3 things, and you need to first of all write down or formalize what a career path is, and what the different parts are, what the different areas of knowledge are that you need for a certain role. So you have to describe the different roles in a certain area. Could be IT, could be development, could be something else. So describing what the career paths are, what the different steps are to take, I think that's a very important part. So such a framework, facilitating people to write their own career plan, making sure that can be discussed with people who know. And that's not always the manager, could be a peer, could be somebody external. So the career plan is clear, and it should not always be a career plan up. I think even at some point in time in your career, you can have a career path down. But I think we need another 10 years to make that work in people's minds. And then thirdly, you have to measure. You have to measure the temperature. You have to, and that is something that doesn't happen too much in a lot of organizations. Maybe once a year there is a conversation with the manager about how you do, and at best there is maybe a survey once a year. But I think you need more. You need to really measure on a daily basis or on a monthly basis the pulse, the how engaged are the people in the organization. Don't talk employees. Talk people. How do they feel, and what is working, what is not working? So measuring constantly the pulse of your people, I think, is a crucial thing to immediately know where you have to act.
Yes, it's a good summary. Yeah. Thank you, Wim. And I think especially nowadays, in the pandemic environment, this measurement of the pulse and understanding what your people are feeling and how do they feel and engaged with the company, and it's super important. But that is probably something we can, have as a next conversation topic. And for today, I would like to really thank you for sharing these great insights and sharing your approach with us and with our audience. So then I also wish you all who was live with us a great Friday and a wonderful weekend. So follow us through the hashtag Fry Talks. Yeah, Fry Talks, and you will get an updates about upcoming events and everything which is related to that. So we are looking forward to have a next conversation in a couple of weeks. Stay with us, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Roland. Andres, good weekend after that.
Thank you.